Shabbat shalom, everyone. This past winter, I went with a group of our BJ teens to volunteer. And when we arrived at the location for volunteering, there was a Palestinian flag that was hanging outside of the location. I noticed it right away, as I do, and I think many of us do, Palestinian and Israeli flags these days. And soon I realized that our teens had also noticed it. Some of them facing anti-Semitism in school, all of them an onslaught of polarizing propaganda on social media. They were often feeling uncertain and on the defense, and this flag visibly put them on edge, making them reluctant to go inside. I wasn't sure what to do. I pulled the group aside and I listened. They were overflowing with questions, many fueled by fear. They began to wonder out loud, is this place welcoming to us as Jews? Are we safe here? Do we belong here? Our Torah reading from Bamidbar, the first Parashat of the book of Bamidbar, begins with a description of the encampment of the Israelites in the desert. In this camp, the tribes are arranged in a square shape around the Mishkan, around the tabernacle, with 3 tribes on each side, in every direction going east, west, south, and north. And it tells us in this description that Ish al Diglo, each tribe is with its flag, or is underneath its flag. And a little bit earlier in the parasha, it says, Ish al machanehu ve'ish al diglo. Each tribe with its own camp and each tribe under its own flag. Well, in some cases, people aren't sure what this word diglo or degel means. Rashi, our 11th century French commentator, he interprets it as a flag. And if you're familiar with modern Hebrew, you know the word degel is also used today for the flag in Israel. And Rashi explains that the purpose of these tribal flags in the desert were that every flag was a sign. It would have a sign on it, and it actually had a color that matched the color of the gemstone for that tribe that was worn on the Kohen Gadol's breastplate. So think about it, it makes sense. It's actually a flag that indicates where your tribe is. And if we want to imagine what this scene looked like in the desert, we can think of hundreds of thousands, potentially 600,000 people in an open space, and everyone looking for where they should go. How would you know where to go? Where to find your tribe? According to Rashi, the flag for each tribe acted as this identifying symbol that helped each person locate where to go to camp each night in the desert. In some ideal world, a flag helps us know where we should be. But today, for me, it feels like the opposite has been happening. It's not only the Palestinian flag that makes me feel tense and spiral into some kind of dark hole of questions in my mind. I've started to notice a similar, yet more complex and layered discomfort when I see Israeli flags. A flag that in the past had brought me pride and comfort, and now, and throughout the years of more learning and more unraveling and going deeper, and in particular now, these months of war and heartbreak, brings both of these feelings of pride and love along with a tenseness, uncertainty, and that same black hole in my mind. Rolly wrote about this in the Torah Shabbat, but this past Wednesday was Yom Yerushalayim. It's a national holiday where people in Israel celebrate as Rolly said, the reunification of Jerusalem with East and West coming together, but there was no unification that ever happened, and this was in 1967 after the Six-Day War. It's often tragically a day of violence and hate, and if you were following the news leading up to this past Wednesday on the 5th, the news was bracing itself and saying this could be the worst that we've ever seen, the worst kind of celebration of violence that we could see. A long-standing tradition for the far right is a flag march, where Israelis march through the streets of East Jerusalem, forcing Palestinians to lock up their shops and to hide in their homes in fear. sometimes leading to vandalism, and unfortunately almost always leading to violence. Through the streets, an angry sea of Israelis desecrate the blue and white flag of Israel, and this year they were chanting, "Death to Arabs." It's not my Israel. It's not my Judaism, and it's not my flag. It's extremists like this, Israeli settlers who feel the holy right to murder Palestinians or attack aid trucks going into Gaza, or who cheer the death of Palestinians, which make me question what it means when I see an Israeli flag today. Is there room between those two blue stripes to grieve the death of innocent Palestinians, to feel an urgency for the hostages to be returned immediately and safely to their families, and for the violence to cease, for Netanyahu and his government to be replaced, for the occupation to end, while also feeling a sense of pride and love, safety for us as a people, and refuge from raging anti-Semitism? Can they hold both? It's not only the Palestinian and Israeli flags. We feel it here with our American flag. We have seen how it is for flags to only represent one idea, or fascism. Since Trump's campaign and election in 2016, the Make America Great Again forever changed the American flag, a flag that already held years of pain and suffering for Black people and Native people and so many other marginalized groups. No longer a symbol of hope and democracy, but a symbol of hate and narrow-mindedness, racism, xenophobia, the desecration of our capital. Is there room between those red and white stripes to hold democracy and hope and love, an understanding of privilege and opportunity, freedom, while also condemning racism, sexism, hate, criminal activity? One of the most remarkable aspects of the anti-reform democracy movement and protests that emerged in Israel last summer was the way in which they reclaimed the Israeli flag. When I was in Israel in January, I was very blessed to go on a federation trip with young rabbis from the New York area. And on this trip, I met with Shikma Bressler and Roy Newman, the leaders of this civil protest against the judicial reform. When they first started organizing, it was very organic, and there were texts that were going, and everybody came out, and they started using black flags. Like many protests, they didn't want to use the Israeli flag. But naturally, they realized that they needed to reclaim the Israeli flag. And so it became the symbol of this resistance. It became every protest, they were ordering thousands of flags. They had to even ask people to lower their flags in order to get aerial shots of some of the protests because there were so many Israeli flags that were there. The flag became a symbol of multiple people within the country. It had a multiplicity of meaning. However, there were still limitations on this single square of blue and white fabric, because now it became known as a flag for resistance and for the far left. And so even there were stories of private guards, security guards, who were standing outside of government buildings or government ceremonies where there would be far-right politicians, and they told people they could not bring their Israeli flag into the government building because they were afraid they might use it to protest. But the largest critique of the protest movement reclaiming the Israeli flag is how the use of the flag also ostracized the Palestinian citizens, who make up around 20% of the population. The flag once again made the Palestinian people feel unwelcome and gives one explanation, only one, as to why few Palestinian citizens of Israel joined that protest movement against the reforms last summer, and now continuing in the complexity of everything that's unfolding. If, as Rashi explained, the flags in the desert to be for the Israelites a place or an indication of where to go, who to camp with, I look around at flags waving or plastered around me, and I feel like I'm in a kind of desert. Where should I camp? If I go to this parade or rally, will it capture the nuances of how I feel? Do I have a camp to join? Just as the Torah highlighted this kind of loneliness that I'm feeling, so too, as it always does, it redeems it. In the Midrash Bamidbar Rabbah, the rabbis introduce another idea of where the inspiration of our flags come from for each tribe in the desert. And it's from Mount Sinai. Linking our parasha back to the moment of revelation, it feels so appropriate with Shavuot coming up. The rabbis imagine that when we receive the Torah, tens of thousands of chariots full of angels, Hayu Hulam Asuyim Degalim Degalim. They came arranged in small groups surrounding different flags, or maybe even each one carrying their own flag. But the moment of revelation involves thousands of flags coming down in these holy chariots with these angels. When Bnei Israel saw these flags, they were in awe. We too want flags, they said. And so God commanded Moshe to tell the people to make themselves flags and to organize themselves, ish al diglo, to organize themselves, each of them, underneath their flags, as we started and we'll hear from our parsha. Rabbi Abraham Isaac HaKohen Kook, the first chief rabbi of pre-state Israel, notes how the Midrash picks up on how flags relate to some inherent characteristic of angels, but not of people. The angels have them, but the people want them. Angels in Hebrew, malachim or malach in the singular, it literally means a messenger. The rabbinic tradition understands that angels are divine messengers who have only one mission they can fulfill. That's it. Rav Kook elaborates on this. An angel cannot perform a task, important though it may be, other than the specific mission for which it was designated to do on earth. Now, he continues, we can better understand the function of the angels' flags when they came down at Revelation. A flag proclaims a distinctive function or trait. Each angel, limited to a very specific area of divine service, carries its own distinguishing flag. Human beings, on the other hand, he says, are not limited to serving God in one particular manner. For us, a flag or a banner is too restricting. It does not reflect our true spiritual essence. Rav Kook illuminates the Midrash and the moment of revelation, shedding new light on each of them. He notices the difference between the angels and the people. Angels have one specific function in this world, one truth, one way of serving. Hence, the flags work for them. They're not complicated or nuanced. They're just there. They're not limited to, they are limited, and I think of them almost like a one-hit wonder, if you will. They're here to do a specific thing, like healing or like sharing good news, all of which can be represented in the confines of a single flag. But people, on the other hand, I don't have to tell you, we have endless missions in this world. We hold multiple truths. We're nuanced, and we're messy, and we're pretty overwhelming. We're too much to put into a box or to capture in a single flag. The Torah helps us see and understand that there are multiple truths at all times. The Torah itself is full of myriad opinions, different stories, the idea of machloket, or this holy disagreement, the value of curiosity. Torah is an infinite number of flags coming down at once. It's not a single flag or parchment. The reaction of Bnei Israel in the Midrash to this revelation, this idea of the flags and the angels coming down, I think it's both upsetting and it's also very relatable. Here, Torah is what awakens us to the complexity of the world around us, to the ways in which human beings are complicated, how life is messy. Torah itself and the study of Torah beckons us to hold multiple truths at once, to listen to the minority, to see that there can always be another way of looking at something. In this moment of revelation, when we realize the responsibility we have to help fix the world that's so broken, and how hard it's going to be, we see the angels surrounding God with their flags, and we envy them. We beg to be simple like them, to connect to God through one task. We long for one truth, to have one way of being, to be able to be represented by a single flag. How nice that would be. How simple it would be. To belong to one encampment. And while God placates us with this new setup in the desert of allowing us to do that for a little bit of time, due to the nature of what it means to be human, it cannot and will not mirror the angels. This is why we are gifted the Torah and all of the mitzvot. They provide endless ways to serve God, to bring goodness and light into our world. We're not meant to stand behind a single flag. We're too intricate. It's kind of sad, and it's also beautiful. You're probably wondering what happened with our teens. Did we volunteer? Or maybe you forgot about them by now, and now I'll remind you, we're back to them. They stood together in fear and in uncertainty, and some of them were having these strong feelings, and we had meaningful and important conversations. Conversations I know many of them are going to have to continue to have over and over again, especially going onto campus soon. After the teens asked all of their questions and shared their feelings, I assured them that we were safe there. And while we made room for the fear and the uncertainty, I turned to the teaching of our Torah. Rather than allowing the fear to shut us down, seeing only one possible meaning to the flag that was hanging there, I asked them questions, actually the very questions that I had started to ask myself in my own head when I felt myself tensing up at the sight of the flag. The questions were welcome in this space, and it's questions that here I think we long for at BJ, something that makes it so unique and special to sit here. We welcome these questions. Would it have felt different if there were two flags that were hanging there? Would it feel the same if there was an Israeli flag there and a Palestinian flag? What are all the different things that this one flag could mean? There are so many things it could mean. We realized that we would never know if we didn't ask, if we didn't volunteer together. So with enormous bravery, the teens took their fear and their uncertainty, and they chose to walk through the doorway past the flag to volunteer. Rather than shutting down, they used the flag to open discussions both internally and externally, embodying the very values at the heart of our Torah. As we honor and we celebrate our high school graduates today, and as we all prepare to receive the Torah on Shavuot in just a few days, may our graduates and each one of us continue to walk together through this unknown desert with the guidance of Torah, a Torah that reminds us again and again that there is no ultimate truth, there's no single story, no one history, or no one flag. And when we receive this, may we internalize it and let it lead us into the promised land of our dreams, a land full of many peoples, many flags, and many truths, all living in a single encampment. Shabbat Shalom.